lot of jokes about bots that wrote annual letters and proxy statements, but now it's real. So the joke, we don't do the joke.
I think we called those bots the legal department before, but
Yeah.
now it's an actual bot.
It's a Business Pants Friday show here from April 4th Studios featuring analyst hole Matt Moscardi. I'll let the audience soak that in. Matt Moscardi's here.
Yes, soak it in, peeps.
On today's weekly wrap-up, a CEO turns violent after looking up his influence score on Free Flow Analytics.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Penguins are a little bit poorer after tariff shock. I don't know what that means.
That is true, yeah.
And the Heritage Foundation manages to get a bit wider in its pursuit in, quote, building an America where freedom, opportunity, prosperity, and civil society flourish if your skin color and genitalia are correct.
Oh, wow. They're on
It's
their
quite a
way.
mandate. It's quite a mission statement.
Imagine that. Imagine
Yeah.
if that was the mission.
Our show today is being sponsored by FreeFlowAnalytics.com, the only platform measuring board power, connections, and performance for free. And it is featured in one of our top stories. Yeah, that was a pathetic audience
It always
reaction.
ends in this whimper of an ad.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you're an analyst using our data is the best, bar none. But yeah, I don't know if it's, if you're an analyst using it, is it that exciting? I mean, you're happy to use it.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
that exciting. You're supposed to sell it
Yeah,
hard.
no, you are. You're yeah. Well, I don't know,
All right.
but even like an analyst working for like a sports book, like FanDuel, working, they're doing the Super Bowl and everything's, it's just data, it's still just data. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
No, I'm not
okay,
selling
so
it well today. I got to calm down.
But if that is the comp, like
Yeah.
FanDuel underwriters of
Even they get
game
bored, I'm
lines,
saying.
this is not going to be that. It's not
Look,
what that is.
I think the data is incredible and amazing. I'm just talking about why the audience had this reaction today. Maybe they're just ready for the weekend. It's kind of a nice day up here in northern New England, so maybe they're just excited to get outside
Maybe they're
for
just
once.
tired of reading about what a tariff even does and
Or just
is, and how
Tired in
how we do
general.
math.
Oh, let's just get to it. Come
All right,
on.
let's.
Matt, here's a new one.
I don't like it already.
Yeah, this is I'm constant. I'm the one thing I'm most pleased about is that I'm constantly astounded by the horrid behavior of CEOs at publicly traded companies,
Yeah,
who are all
think-
men, bar none.
I think it's funny that you're astounded by anything anymore. It's so cute.
Yeah, well, I guess that's why I'm still able to tag all these headlines, because why would anyone do that? I don't know why anyone would
I don't
do
know.
that.
It's very masochistic.
CEO accused of, and once again, business news, screw you for not outing. First of all, they don't even, you have to dig a while to even find out the name of the company, let alone the name of the CEO. But when this happens, say the guy's name. America needs to know who's choking who, okay?
Oh wait, you didn't.
Oh,
even
sorry,
give me you just front run the headline. What's the
Sorry.
headline?
CEO accused of choking a fellow
Holy
cruise
moly.
passenger. This is the actual headline, by the way. I know you think we're all satire, but this is all fact-based. CEO accused of choking a fellow cruise passenger after the man allegedly danced barefoot at a bar aboard the ship and insulted the CEO's wife.
Oh, which do you think prompted the choking? The barefootness or the wife insult?
I think both, actually. I think a combination. But I actually have other theories. First of all, he has a name. It's Kenneth DeGiorgio. He is the CEO, yes, of a publicly traded company, First American Financial Corp, a company that is actually in our database. That leads me to actually the first theory of why he got so angry. But before I get to that, I want to here's a little bit of background. So the wife told the police that she said to the victim, the guy who got choked, "Look, we are all grown-ups here. Can you put your shoes on?" First of all, why is the CEO? Why is the CEO's wife? You're on vacation.
You're on a cruise.
Yeah, what are you doing? You're
That's
at the
where
wrong
you're supposed
place.
to not be a grown up.
There's such a thing. There's a thing called Airbnb, and you can actually get a private home on a beach, and you don't have to have anyone dancing barefoot near you. My family uses it all the time because we don't actually like to be by a bunch of drunken idiots dancing barefoot. Um, the victim responded by cursing at her and sticking his middle finger up. Okay, that's according to the complaint. And then the CEO then started choking him.
Oh, I
So
mean,
that's his response, right to the violent choking. Yeah.
yeah, I like that the wife asked him to be a grown up and put his shoes on, and the husband's reaction was to choke a man.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Yeah.
does seem like a childish response to a guy not
Horrible.
wearing shoes.
Well, this is again reinforcing this is the year of 2025. You keep saying this is the year of the middle school
is.
man flake.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
that's why it's man flakes.
and it's still yet. I don't know. The company has made no announcement that this guy has his job still anymore. But anyway, according to the victim, the CEO said, "I'm going to fucking kill you." So that's
good.
So here's my okay. Here's what I'm thinking. First, I went to freeflowanalytics.com to learn a little bit more. We don't talk a lot about First American Financial Corp. Maybe that's one of the problems. It's not a very known company. But I looked at the influence numbers, Matt. Kenneth DeGiorgio is actually the third most powerful board member. He is behind. He's behind chair and former CEO Dennis Gilmore. So he's already feeling emasculated. We always talk about this. If you keep the former CEO on your board as a chair, it's going to mess with the mind of your current CEO, right?
Good point. Yeah, third.
He's also behind Compensation Committee Chair Michael McKee, and part of the reason is that McKee has been there for more than a decade, more than the new CEO. So that might be part of the reason why he feels so emasculated in general. But there's another possible reason. Maybe he's angry because the CEO at peer company Cincinnati Financial not only has a way cooler name that is more appropriate for ocean cruising. His name is Steven Spray, right? That's a better name for ocean cruising, is it not?
That is definitely a better name for going on a cruise.
Yeah. But also Spray received about $18,000 for spousal travel as one of his perks, which would have been perfect for cruising, right?
For an Airbnb.
Yeah, or whatever.
to avoid the cruise.
So that could have been the reason why Kenneth DeGiorgio was so upset, but I'm guessing that, no, it's probably none of that. It's probably just the alcohol. The large amounts of alcohol shoved down the faces of every cruise goer. Yeah. So anyway,
you sure said the norovirus on the cruises.
So that's actually a real story. Yeah.
That's actually it's. Look, I want to give props at least for you picking the story in the face of unrelenting news about tariffs.
I was so happy to do it too.
Like firings and shuttering of government offices in the U.S., a global trade war, all the nonsense. You managed to find CEO chokes dude on cruise.
I say this to everybody. I know that one of your I'll tease one of your assholiest of the weeks is spineless ESGers. I know it's one of your
that's true. Yeah.
People. We still have work to do. Like you
we got a lot to do.
You can't give up. You can't just get rid of your DEI program. You can't just stop your ESG.
Yes.
Stop giving up and keep focusing on what's going on.
That's correct.
All right, let's jump to the second horrible story of the week that Matt
just out of
already alluded
curiosity,
to.
do you know when their SEC filing is? I can look it up if you don't know it off the top for the next proxy. I'm wondering if maybe
for First
choking
American
a guy
Financial?
is it. I wonder if ISS will include that in their recommendation.
I actually think
choked a guy.
I think their proxy just came out. Yeah, it came out at the end of March, a few days ago. So I was also wondering, was there something in that proxy statement? One of the things I looked at, Matt, was that his CEO pay ratio is only like, I say only, but in America it's pretty low. It's only like 120 to 1. So maybe he's angry about that. I don't know. I don't know what something. I think I'm glad you pointed that out because it came out on March 31st. That's only like 2 days before the choking.
2 days before. He was so pissed about something in there.
And he's not even up for election this year. Maybe that's it too. It's a classified board. He's not up for election this year, so maybe he thinks he can just get away with choking.
Look at this. Look at this, investors. We just made this relevant, right? Yeah. The CEO has absolutely no accountability because you can't even vote him off the board. He can go choke a guy on a cruise, and you can't really do anything about it except vote against other board members to send a message to the CEO. And this is the problem.
Yeah.
If you want to live in a post-accountability society, feel free to ignore this proxy and vote 96% in favor of everybody on it. If you want to live in an accountability society, why don't you vote like it's not okay to choke a dude?
Matt, you're so right. You actually might have come up with the best reason ever to get rid of all classified boards.
Yeah,
right?
Correct.
It's because what are you going to do when your CEO, who's also on the board, is choking guys out and you don't have an investor voice until like 2040, right? I mean,
imagine what it's like. Isn't it like it's the purge only in reverse, right? This is the year that because you're not up for election, you can go get drunk, punch a guy in the face, kick an old lady in her shins. You could do all sorts of crazy stuff. You can go drunk driving. No one can vote you out. So what do you give a fuck? This is as perfect an argument against a classified board or dual class shares or any of these like constraints on your actual democracy, a corporate democracy. This is as good a case study as why you shouldn't have any of those constraints as I could think of. Choking a guy on a cruise. We spent a lot of time on choking a guy on a cruise. I'm actually shocked.
Well, I think we had to. We had to. I mean, look, good. I mean, it's usually these things happen at small weird companies in like Utah or Oklahoma, but this is actually in our database. It's
a little smallish and weirdish, but yeah.
Okay, let's just get to the big story that everyone else is covering, and that is Trump's tariffs amount to, quote, worse than worst case scenario, end quote, as investors brace for stock market beatdown, which is already happening. I'm peeking at the stock market. It's getting beat down.
It's another time. This is like the fifth, sixth, seventh time that we've had to on this show. We make fun of Larry Summers, who's now on the OpenAI board. We made fun of him ad nauseum about his takes on how women are not as smart as men and his cranky old man shtick and whatever. And now I have to side with Larry Summers.
Whoa.
It's another time I have to take the side of people who are fucking like blowhard morons for years and all of a sudden seem reasonable.
Yeah,
because
but this one's easy, isn't it?
I mean, Larry Summers went on like a multi-tweet rant. A tweet rant, no less.
All right, of course, on Twitter.
Because we can't seem to divorce ourselves from Elon Musk's stupid fucking platform. He went on a tweet rant about how this is like, this is the most asinine kindergarten level thinking of it.
Where does that rant get him anyway? What is ranting on X get? Where does that get anyone? I mean, you should do it on our show. You should do it on Business Day.
He was in the headline. Yeah, come here, Larry. I promise not to make fun of you for the 30 minutes you're on this show.
Even Fox Business, that's one of the outlets that we tag, that we look at. Even they're uncomfortable. There's a headline today. Economist says Trump's tariffs could replay devastating history. They're talking about the Depression. So even Fox themselves are like,
You know what everybody around the world really wants to replay? The Great Depression.
Well,
that was fun.
I mean, I haven't spent a lot of time looking at this, but except for the one country that I don't think got affected at all, which is Russia of all countries.
Yeah, but in fairness, like that I thought about that. That seems clickbaity, only because we don't have a trade imbalance with Russia because we haven't been trading with them for like 3 years. Like we sanctioned them, so there's no trade. So they didn't get a tariff because the math that they used was baby math. In fact, I'll come to this later. They're pretty sure they used ChatGPT to figure out the math here.
I think we're clear that this is what's happening. All right. Again, like tune into us if you actually want to understand the future of not only ESG, corporate governance, but the business world, because every dumb joke we make happens in like 3 years.
It all comes true.
And for those of you who've been listening for a while, or if you haven't, I'll tell you what we're talking about. Back in the day, we had this excessive joke that we would do over and over and over, which is that all the companies and CEOs were using some kind of ridiculous chat machines, basically, to generate their ideas and their theories and their annual letters and whatever. and this is what's actually happening now. Yeah.
How likely do you think when we do the post-mortem on these tariffs? Here's another like half tinfoil joke that will likely be true. How likely is it that we will read a report a year and a half from now about how Trump told Elon Musk or a bunch of people in his orbit, rich donors, whatever, he told them that tariffs is going to be his way. He loves these tariffs. He thinks it'll help, whatever. And they all sold a bunch of their stock, sold their shares, got, reorient their portfolios. The GOP's in on it. They're reorienting their portfolios. And now that everything's like down 20%, you buy. Well, and the market pops.
But that's like I don't usually weigh in on stuff like this because I don't know what I'm talking about with the stock market.
That's
but
great.
That was my that was my only instinct here. It's like, isn't this just a way to depress the market so that that everything we've been talking about at the beginning of this administration is that everything's transactional now. Everything is transactional between he and his buddies. In fact, I have something later about now Jeff Bezos is a potential buyer of TikTok. But that's the only thing I can think of. Why else would you do this? You're just depressing the market so that the people who can, like your Warren Buffetts, who have. I mean, Warren Buffett has made a whole career out of doing this, hasn't he? He
moved
waits.
entirely. Do you remember, like six months ago, all the stories were about how he moved into
so much
his
cash.
largest cash position in the history of Warren Buffett. My dad's theory, I just talked to my dad about this, is that this is obviously you do these things, you depress the market, you get some concession, the market goes up, and you can claim like you won, like you saved everybody because
your dopey supporters who don't deal in things like nuance anymore will believe that. Yeah,
I've read the stories that this is basically a shakedown. This is basically a way for him to consolidate power and get concessions from individual companies. Like, don't tariff our product, exempt us, and we'll give you X, right?
Wonderful. I'm so glad to now live in a country that everyone hates even more. Yeah,
all of it is stupid. It is one economist and stupid.
One economist actually had a statement that made the most sense to me. She said, what's really going on here is let's make the world poor again, and then we can buy it at a discount.
Yeah,
that rings true to me.
Basically, what you're saying. To bring it back to because you and I, we can talk about how we think it's dumb, but we're not economists, and I don't.
Of course,
frankly, the process by which this happens is so asinine to me that we're not going to add any value to this conversation. Where we will add value is understanding which companies have either A, weathered this before. This is something that people have seen before. As in Trump 1.0, there were tariffs on China. We actually tagged in our database directors that had gone through tariffs in China and outperformed, right? Mm-hmm. In Trump 1.0. There's a way to look at this and say, who are the people that are kind of will understand how to do this? And number two, this is also a way to understand the people that are going to basically kneel and kiss the ring and what that means.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to say, I mean, the CEOs have been doing every dance they can to get out of DEI, but what are they doing in the face of this?
Well, there's a quote that you have here about CEOs at the Business Roundtable. Mm-hmm. And those are the same CEOs who didn't want to weigh in when Trump was running, or they sided with Trump.
Yeah.
And now
they're
all
getting
saying,
rid of DEI programs, or they're just looking the other way as they fire the
They are
government
literally,
workers.
everybody's a flip-flopper.
Or, as they're not giving money to universities for science, and they're just still not saying anything.
So many
of these corporations benefit from that R&D happening at universities.
Next week, I just got interviewed for the ED4S, which is a sustainability
finally got that gig.
podcast.
I know you've been angling for that for a long time.
Like that. I've been calling them every day.
ED4S.
Yeah, it's Matt Orsag. Yeah, is over there, and he interviewed me.
Love it.
Noir Al-Thadi.
ED4S.
So shout out to them. I'll be on their podcast next week.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that we talked about there is the what you can measure when something is like voluntary, as in there's a lot of standardized reporting around financials and all the stuff that we know, and there's a move to standardize ESG data or governance data, like some of the voluntary stuff, like skills matrices, which we think are spurious and terrible. But I actually argued on their podcast that not having a standard tells you a lot about the behavior of these companies. And this is kind of a case study in that, in a really like horrible way. But when you watch directors and executives sort of bend over backwards, flip their, they set a target.
I'm glad you mentioned the directors here. Yeah.
They cancel the target. They're doing the DEI thing. They're not doing the DEI thing. They're like bending over backwards to basically sit in whatever the like immediate moment is. You learn something about A, their resilience, and B, their ability to actually navigate tricky waters.
Yeah,
they're not fighting this. They're very short term. They're worried about largely themselves and keeping their jobs.
I'm glad you pointed out directors, because there are a couple of things I thought of too. First of all, some of these companies actually embedded in their risk statements are things like this. Right?
Yes, correct.
The nature of global markets could affect blah, 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 blah. So they have every reason to already be preparing for that. So any of these directors who've been on the boards for years have these risk statements and actually don't have a plan or aren't fighting back should be voted out immediately.
Correct.
What are you doing?
Correct.
Right? I mean, I'm looking at like the Nike board as an example. I'm only mentioning Nike because it's one of the companies that the press is talking about a lot, taking a big hit because they source most of their stuff from Vietnam, which is getting a huge tariff. So I bet you embedded in their risk statements is this type of thing, and yet what have they done? What are they doing?
You know what's amazing about the Nike story? We covered this on our show. This is back in COVID, is when they transitioned from China to Vietnam.
Apple did the same, yeah.
And Apple did the same. And a lot of companies did the same.
Part of that was also the pressure from political theater from the first Trump administration.
Exactly. They realized they need to diversify their supply chain, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And they did it. It took them years, but they did it successfully. And not only is there no upside to having done it because a guy decided a random number using ChatGPT, but
it is like strange in middle.
They're actually getting punished for it.
Yeah,
like that's the behavioral sort of strategic thinking that you should look at how they diversified the first time through the tariffs. We have those directors tagged in our database, and you should be able to say, like, they did a good job of weathering the storm when it came up before. But guess what? Like, they couldn't have possibly predicted that a random number generator would decide that their entire supply chain is too expensive to use anymore.
Maybe Matt Orsag will agree with me. I know that Matt is actually getting more involved with this degrowth movement, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, he's into it.
So who knows? Maybe there's the silver lining here is just less junk in general.
Noir actually had a LinkedIn post about how these tariffs are the ultimate carbon reducer. Because you're not sending stuff around the globe. It's a great point.
Which is that's the thing we were so excited. The only silver lining out of COVID, out of the pandemic, was that it shut up all the horrible instincts of humanity. Essentially, one of them being just this like addiction to buying crap from.
I love that we come off as like old misanthropes whenever we have this conversation.
All right, come on, let's move on. Wait, I got one other thing I want to say is the takeaway. Another guy in our database, Gary Friedman, CEO of home furnishings company RH. First of all,
RH.
It used to be called Restoration Hardware.
Oh yeah.
This jerk, and I say him because he controls like 70% of board influence and like 25% of voting stock. This jerk changes his company name to RH for why? First of all, making it virtually impossible to find it in any database. Like, you know how hard it is to search for like a RH? It took me a while to find it. But anyway, Gary Friedman, he is making the rounds in the press because he was in an earnings call when the tariffs were announced, and he said in live action, he said, "Oh really? Oh shit. Okay." I just looked at the screen. I hadn't looked at it. The share price got hit when I think the tariff came out, and everybody can see in our 10K where we're sourcing from because he gets 40% of his junk from, I don't know, maybe from somewhere in Asia. Two-thirds of his company's goods are sourced from Asia. So he's
there's not enough oh shit moments on earnings calls.
There should be more.
There should be more.
And that kind of is a kind of a tease for some of my other stories. You ready to move on from the tariffs?
Yeah, please. Let's. You know what? I'm going to say this now. I'm not making them the story of the week.
No,
because everyone else will, and it's you don't come here for just that.
My next story is two leaders stepping down, about to step down because someone complained. I like this one.
What?
Because somebody complained.
What?
First at BP, Helge Lund, he's the chair, and in Europe the chair kind of is the boss.
Down.
He's resigning amid pressure from shareholders over the green agenda because they don't want. It's really just one shareholder, which I think is it Elliott Investment?
Elliott, yeah, I believe it's Elliott.
It's really just one investor who owns like less than 5% of shares, I believe. But they don't like the green agenda, and they're mad. So they're basically forcing the chair out. So
they're sad about the green agenda.
Yeah. So congratulations, Helga, for giving up the fight, and also the Primark CEO Paul Marchant. He quits after a woman complains about his behavior.
Oh, that one. All right.
We talked about this earlier in the week.
What is the probability that they Vince McMahon their way back into the board? Paul Marchand is a perfect possible Vince McMahon, right? Like he's been there for 25 years.
Oh, you think he'll rescind his resignation?
Doesn't he step off and then all of a sudden he comes back as executive chair?
Yeah.
And in a year when he's like no one cares about the woman anymore,
maybe.
and then he sells a huge stake in the company to some. I don't know. It has all the feelings of that, but I'm glad that people are listening to complainers a little bit. I just wish they listened to the right complainers. The woman complaining, that's the right complainer.
Again, it takes
Elliott complaining, not.
But still, as we keep pointing out, the investor market they're dead, they're dull, they're dopey. They have unless the CEO is harassing a woman, or some activist comes in and just shakes their jazz hands. Yeah. That's the only time they wake up. I don't know why. Because they have freeflowanalytics.com, and they can look at some data. They actually can make decisions. So
nice,
I don't know.
Nice plug.
Yeah,
I like that. I like.
And by the way, I had a listener tell me that I'm slurring the name of the database because she looked for Free Flow Analytics. It's Free Float.
No. Float.
And we're the dumb ones for naming our company something stupid like Free Float. It is a dumb name. We should have been. It should have been. What is it? 4D. What is it? 4D ES4. What is that? Where'd you talk?
I don't remember.
What's your conference? ED4S, but that was taken. So
yeah, although we did when we launched this company, we wanted to call it Alt Street.
Yeah, without the W, Alt Street. Kind of a shout out to our childhood with alt rock, Smashing Pumpkins.
Exactly,
and,
alt music, and it sounds a little like Wall Street,
Wall Street, of course. Yeah,
right. But we told it to 3 people, and their response was immediate. They just said, "You mean the alt right?" And we were like, "Oh,
it's not our fault." Yeah, no, so we didn't do that. Yeah.
Not that.
And finally, the fourth company of the week is, I know this is just getting in the weeds, but I just had to get mad at Macy's, and I didn't know how else to get mad at Macy's, so I threw it in.
Everybody's got to get mad at Macy's
Here's
sometime.
the headline. Companies, my headline is companies still don't take governance seriously. And okay, I'm having a stroke. Companies still don't take governance seriously, and investors don't seem to care, right? This is what we talk about every week. The headline is Macy's to claw back executive bonuses due to accounting scandal. Okay.
Ooh.
So the earnings metric was overstated by $81 million in 2023. So they overpaid executives. So now they're clawing back that money, right? They're clawing back about $600,000. Okay. And
that's $600,000 more than my salary.
Yeah, and so here's Macy's announcement. Macy's announces this by saying that they've hired a new CFO, right? And then buried at the end is that the old CFO is stepping away. But of course, they said the move was part of its plan to return to long-term profitable growth. It's not because the CFO was an idiot.
It's not because he couldn't add.
And here's why I'm mad at Macy's investors, because I know they're not going to know how to react to this. First of all, Macy's investors, how did you allow your board to the CFO who screwed up was named Adrian Mitchell. He was the CFO and the COO.
Ooh, yeah.
What at a large cap company? Why would you allow this in the first place? That's horrible governance.
It's more efficient. It's like Doge.
CFO and what have they done? They've replaced them with a new CFO and COO.
How much did it cost them? Did it?
Okay,
they must have.
I am so glad you asked that. So the guy who screws up, Adrian Mitchell, he first of all he already got $6 million last year. His quote unquote full walkaway value of his severance package is another $7 million. So he's getting $7 million to walk away.
Yeah, that's good.
And they're giving the new CFO and COO about $4 million in golden hello. So
wow, nice.
What are you doing? You should vote out everybody for this.
Does everybody know? Does everybody recognize that a golden hello is giving money to somebody for something they haven't done at all? It's basically asking them to like hiring them, and then when they show up for the job, giving them money just for showing up on the first day.
Yeah.
If they quit the next day, they often still, like, the way the golden hellos are structured, they can keep at least a portion of it.
Because companies refuse to actually terminate people with cause. They let almost everybody walk away for just like let them resign, basically, right?
All right. So my options here are a choking CEO, Trump tariffs.
That's real, by the way. He really did choke a guy because he was dancing barefoot, essentially.
Leaders quitting after someone complained, and then companies not taking G seriously. Really, Macy's. This is. I mean, like, look, everybody else, it's tariffs. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm going with CEO accused of choking fellow
to.
cruise press. I mean, it's the ultimate governance story that is not a governance story, right? Like, because the CEO does a thing that's in his social life, and you look at his behavior, and you're like, that's terrible. And maybe you fire the CEO, maybe you don't. But the fact that it's a classified board.
What do you mean maybe you fire the CEO?
Like, Dana White punched his wife, and he's sitting on the Meta board currently, and he made millions of dollars as the head of the UFC group, right? Like they renamed Endeavor or whatever. There is not necessarily accountability, and this is the perfect story to show you structurally how there can be no accountability. Like, we have given it up. We've basically abdicated our rights in the corporate democracy. I think it's a great story.
I will say this: First American Financial, it still hasn't released a statement. Its last statement is from April 2nd, which was 2 days ago, saying First American celebrates a decade of recognition as one of the Fortune 100 best companies to work for. But unless you're getting choked out by the CEO, I guess.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, it's not great if he's doing that.
No.
All right, let's move on to Goodliest.
Oh, something good?
Yeah, these are quick, though.
I actually have one that's actually good. I'm really the only one that has something that's actually good.
Both of mine are good.
All right, you go first.
All right, Elon Musk. Here's the headline: Elon Musk gets booed right to his face.
Tell me the context of that.
So he was at like doing his Wisconsin thing. So if you didn't know, Elon Musk tried to buy a Wisconsin judge seat by spending $25 million on the election of a judge.
Yeah, that's what he does. That's what Elon does now. That's how he spends his money. Because you refuse to vote him out. That's how he spends his Tesla cash.
Yeah, because you refused to vote out his board in 2017
and him
against his pay and vote out him. And we've had 7 opportunities till now to get rid of his captured board and all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
We haven't done it. Instead, he's spending his money to buy judge seats. He went into a rally and was like being like his, laminated punchable face at a rally. And he got heckled.
Matt,
because it's not possible.
Is that domestic terrorism?
Well, yes, that's correct.
I was going to say, this guy is so protected. Not only do investors protect him and his board members protect him, but you can't even protest the company.
You can't even stand outside the company with a sign anymore. Yeah. You're a terrorist.
Yeah.
It's not possible that someone doesn't like him. So he said George Soros planted the hecklers.
I don't know
because
what
it's
what
not
does that mean?
possible.
What is that code for? A rich Jewish guy is hiring?
Of course.
What are we doing? I don't know. We still doing George Soros?
But you gotta love the fact that somebody showed up to a rally, like waited probably like like several hours to stand there at a rally, and when Elon Musk walked on stage, they booed him. They just booed at him, and then he is so petty and so small and insecure. He was like, "This is George Soros's fault. Like somebody must have booed me. That's the only way anyone would boo me." It's
well,
like
he lost that election.
Correct.
By a lot actually. What else do you have, Julius? Yeah. What else do you have?
Second one is you mentioned this already, but Trump's tariffs on penguin-only islands sparks wave of social media jokes.
Honestly, I think so. What Matt's alluding to here is that strangely, some of the sovereign states—they're not sovereign states, by the way, are they? They're territories. I don't know what they are. Strangely, some uninhabited islands got tariffs against them, which I think is what led people to look into wait, who wrote these tariffs in the first place?
That's
right?
correct. Yeah,
because I've been dabbling. You've been using AI a lot more than me. I know I have a mandate from you that I got to step up my AI use for some projects that I'm procrastinating on. But one of the things I've noticed about using AI is that you need to apply a level of QC. Let's just say a quality control, because 80% of it is actually kind of wonderful, but 20% of it is so completely off,
straight up
wrong.
lies and wrong and terrible.
I was doing a project for another one of our shows, and I kept asking it to help me by giving me a list of tickers from the Fortune 500, and they give me 111 tickers, and I keep asking them again, and they give me 97. I'm like, what's happening here? But the stupid people would just do that and say, here are the Fortune 500 tickers. So that's why I think people thought that they were using AI. Because,
on Trump's long list of tariffed just territories, countries, whatever, is an island that has no people on it. It's just penguins. And there's also the highest, one of the highest on the list, like a 50% tariff of Lesotho, which is like a nation where we don't have trade. But they have now a 50% tariff on trade with Lesotho.
Isn't that one of the? It used to be a state in the South African region.
Isn't it that little thing?
Yeah.
I mean, we are talking about the most. It's beyond asinine because they're actually labeling places and they have specific numbers, like a 37% tariff on the penguins. What? What? Where did you get that number? Where did you get that place? The whole thing's a joke. I love it.
My good list of the week, something we alluded to, and I think you posted about this on LinkedIn, and I'm glad you did because this is sort of an intellectual point of confusion for me. But I think we've solved it because I think we won. I feel happy about this. But the headline is BlackRock CEO Larry Fink's annual letter omits references to DEI, ESG, and sustainable investing. And look. I know people are angry about that, but hey, we were yelling and warning people back at the beginning of our shows in our company, which is that don't let this guy kind of woke wash you, greenwash you into thinking that BlackRock cares about any of this. Don't let them fool you. So maybe it's actually good that he's kind of giving up.
I think that headline's just missing one word, and it would be a true headline. It's finally omits. Finally. If they just said finally, then we'd be in the right place.
But here's my actually goodliest of the week, and I love this. Oregon and Washington workers, it hasn't happened yet, but may soon be able to claim unemployment benefits when they go on strike. I love it.
Wow.
These are states fighting back against the nonsense coming out of Washington, D.C. I love that. That is a beautiful idea. Beautiful idea.
I still think the penguin-only island tariff
that's the winner.
That's the winner right there.
Anything involved with penguins. We don't talk about penguins enough. I love
Not nearly
things.
enough. I actually, it's funny you say that. I did a news search on our platform for the word penguins to see how, I'm not kidding. I wanted to see, maybe he thought that, this penguin company was, who he's targeting. I just thought it was so funny.
Well, it's a shame. I mean, ever since there was a wonderful documentary, I don't even know, 20 years ago, March of the Penguins. Ever since that, nothing. I mean, hopefully this brings back some attention.
Where's David Attenborough when you need him? I think he should go to the island that's getting the tariffs and interview the penguins. That's what I want to see next.
You're right.
All right, let's
depress
do
us.
asshole.
Come on, make us
We're on
sad.
like
Make us
hour
angry.
40, and we're just starting
I
mine.
know. Well, we skipped one of our shows this week, so we have a lot more to say, I guess.
All right, number one. You mentioned this at the top. Spineless ESGers.
Yeah, what does that mean? Am I one of them?
Yeah, we're all kind of one of them. But
Oh.
here's the thing. Here's the headline I saw. Trump's DEI purge drives 34% drop in pro ESG investor proposals.
Yeah, what is that? I know for a fact that it has nothing to do with Trump, but why is this happening?
Okay, so first of all, there's a headline writer problem. Like they're basically saying because Trump is anti-DEI, whatever, then there aren't as many ESG proposals.
Yeah, I don't get
Most
that.
of the ESG proposals weren't DEI. Like
No,
they
they never
didn't
were.
like go in and say, well, actually, it's the number. The difference is really just the DEI proposals. The difference is in all of the proposals.
Sure.
It is straight across the board. And meanwhile, the same article says this: Alliance Defending Freedom, which is an org that I didn't know existed.
Alliance Defending Freedom.
Yeah, which my next thing is to look them up. Like they're a Christian law firm.
But
is
Matt,
what they are.
we've joked about this. They're all like they're all weird inbred cousins of each other because, as I pointed out at the beginning of the show, the Heritage Foundation, freedom is also their big thing. They're all doing the same. They're all parroting the same dumb ideas, and they all have similar board members and similar data. Not that they actually use data, but yeah, go ahead.
They don't use data. One of the things that what they actually should do is actually talk to some Christians, because the nuns who are Christian have been doing a lot of ESG proposals, like biblically driven ESG proposals.
Of course.
But forget that. Alliance Defending Freedom, which they said their coalition. They called it a coalition, which to me, isn't that collusion now? Like, we can't have coalitions anymore.
Yeah, CEOs have been angry about this. Isn't that one of the things that Darren Woods was upset about?
Exactly, that they're all colluding. But this is a coalition, submitted 70 proposals this year, up from 28 in 2024. So what that means is you're seeing a drop in ESG proposals, what they call ESG ones, and a increase in anti-ESG
But Matt,
ones.
but I pointed out this so many times. I don't know why they're not listening to us. Those are ESG proposals.
Yeah, of course they are. But that's
it's the same thing, just from a different political perspective. ESG, Matt, I'm gonna break it to you. I know it's gonna hurt you.
I just hurt my brain right now.
Data itself, it's not political. It can't be political. It's just. I mean, what are we doing? ESG is not on the left. It's ridiculous. It's nor is it on the right. Frankly, it's how you apply it. They're doing ESG shit. They're just angry at women and black people, essentially. Right? And they think that the climate doesn't pertain to them because they're going to be dead soon. So who gives a shit?
Guess what?
They're going to heaven anyway, right? So who cares?
When you're angry at women and black people, you need to know how many women and black people are at places. Yeah, that's an ESG data point, right?
Who would waste their life being angry at women and black people? What kind of a life is that, by the way?
But here is the asshole. Yeah. And this is not just about As You Sow. As You Sow is a great org. I know Andy Bahar, who's the CEO there. But Andy said in the article...
Well, is Andy Bahar, is he a client of FreeFlowAnalytics.com?
They've used our data where we...
Is he a client?
No, he's not a client.
Well, maybe he is an asshole then. I don't know. I'm just
well,
speculating.
we coexist in the same space. I like Andy a lot, but this is his quote. We have tempered down. We've tempered down some of our asks, noting that his group filed 58 resolutions this year, down from 99 last year.
Why are they tempering down?
It's not just As You Sow. Everybody is. It's not like an As You Sow problem. But this is the moment to go harder, not softer, right?
Well, is this because of the Darren Woods effect? Why do you think they're tempering?
I think it's a combination of the Darren Woods effect, and they are worried about getting targeted by the administration, right? Like,
who cares if they're targeted by the administration? Politics changes.
These are all nonprofits. I know for a fact they're losing people. They've had to lay off people across the nonprofits, and they're worried, right?
I
get it. But you still have to go harder, and it doesn't have to be more to be harder. You just need to use data. Like, we literally offer these people, not just as you sow amongst them, free data to target directors instead of writing shareholder proposal. Don't write a shareholder proposal about a Scope 3 emissions report.
Yeah, nobody cares about Scope 3 emissions.
It's a non-binding proposal anyway, and no one gives a fuck. We can't be celebrating
nuance.
12% votes for and saying we're better than the anti-ESG who are getting 2% votes for. That's a stupid, asinine project, right? The win here is an actual win. Like, why don't we target directors? Get aggressive about the people. If you don't like what the company is doing as a fiduciary, you have the ability to vote the people out and put in people you like. And if you're getting 12%
Macy's
votes
investors
on like shareholder proposal, imagine what you can do if you get a coalition around a director who has a long track record of shitty behavior or bad performance.
I tell you, Matt, that might actually make a change. If directors are worried about getting voted out, they actually might start talking to you about their Scope 3 emissions.
Correct.
That's how negotiations often start, right? Is fear of losing their job.
Even with the new guidance about a quid pro quo, you don't have to engage with them. You don't have to tell them. You just have to say, we are voting against the bottom performers on carbon emissions, period. If you're a director, you've been on more than one board, and you've had 3 to 5 years of tenure at least, we will vote against you if you're in the bottom quartile of emissions. No matter what industry you're in, we don't give a fuck. We're voting against you. Oh, I just got a message that said DR has stopped recording. All right, restart yourself and we'll come back. We're still live and you'll come back. I'll continue the rant though, because I'm still here. This is a moment to change up, to not do what we've done for 20 years in the ESG community, writing up proposals. Don't like, so I was just saying, this is the moment to change up. No more writing proposals that we're going to get 12% votes for. Can we go at the people instead of the proposals? Can we change the tactic that we use?
Yeah,
we don't have to.
You're already mad at Trump. You're mad at Musk. So why stop there?
Like, use the data. You have justification and target the directors. It's free. It's fucking free. It's not like, a lot of money. All right, so that's number one.
That one. Well,
number one, spineless ESGers. And that's not spineless as you sow. I get it, Andy. I'm on your side. I just want all.
Don't waffle.
No, I want you all to change up and use some data. Don't do it the same way you've been doing it. It doesn't work.
I tell you, it's. I don't know if I completely agree with you. It's dispiriting to hear him say we've tempered down some of our asks.
Well, I know.
Of all moments in history, I would think it would have gone the other direction.
That's why I'm saying go hard,
tempering
not soft.
Down.
Go hard.
Because the constituents and the clients and the supporters of that organization, which you're right is a good organization, don't want you to temper down anything.
Yeah. We want to kick some ass now. Number 2 on my list.
Yes.
Fake legitimacy.
Are you talking about directors? Who are you talking about?
I'm kind of talking about anybody because here's the headline I saw.
Everybody. Yeah.
Here's the headline.
Including me.
It says exclusive. Of course, it's an exclusive. Robbie Starbuck joins Heritage Foundation to continue fight against woke corporations. All right, calm down, audience. Like, Heritage Foundation was an inevitable place for a Robbie Starbuck.
Yeah.
But I also saw, and we talked about, this headline's already been, like, pushed under the rug because of the tariffs, but Trump fires 6 national security staffers after meeting with far-right activist Laura Loomer. Activist is a strong word. It's actually online influencer and nobody. She's a nothing. She's a Robbie Starbuck. She's an internet troll.
You just described Robbie Starbuck.
Right.
It's someone who complains a lot on Twitter.
And how do they get to this position, right? Like, it's not them. To me now, it's not their fault. It is, we have given them.
Kind of you.
Zuckerberg has given them fake legitimacy. We have the algorithm has legitimized the loudest voice in the room. It democratized opinion.
And
Elon, right? Like, it's democratized the value of an opinion over any facts, over anything else.
Yeah, but
and it's made it possible for these 2 loudmouth diaper babies, these internet trolls, to actually find like jobs. Like, they're getting longtime national security staffers fired and they're joining foundations.
You are parroting my complaint about corporate directors in America. Is it not the same thing that once you make it on the board, that is somehow some stamp of legitimacy? It doesn't matter how you perform. Basically nothing matters. Once you're there, you will get other offers at other boards and you will not get voted out.
That's correct.
Investors won't even scare you. Like, you're just suddenly legitimate forever. I think that it's the same level of stink.
But there is, for investors, there's a way. You measure legitimacy. You measure merit. You measure performance. You hold people to. Imagine if we went to a job. I mean, like, boards of directors, like these assholes, like doing what they're doing, like Zuckerberg's made that possible. But imagine if you and I got a job as mid-level management at like an insurance company, right?
Ooh, that sounds good.
It doesn't sound amazing.
Sounds like a dream.
It sounds amazing. Imagine if like the reason I got the job is because online I said a bunch of stuff about the insurance company about how great they were, and that's how I got the job.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
you're just trolling minorities, but that's a whole
like
nother story. Yeah.
If you were my boss, that would be the stupidest fucking way to that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist anywhere else. It seems to only exist in the shareholder democracy and now in the real democracy.
Can I also point out that I had a joke at the top of the show that the Heritage Foundation now just got a little bit whiter. But can I just point out that is statistically correct, because I'm looking at their board, right, and their board is not 100% white, so that would have been statistically inaccurate to say it got whiter. Matt, they have 24 members on their board. One of them is not white. I looked. So technically speaking, you can get whiter at the Heritage Foundation. It's possible to get whiter. So anyone who's going to complain about that, this is numbers based. It's numbers based,
baby.
Yeah,
that's what we are, fact based snark. All right, and number 3 on my list is coddled billionaires.
I'm sick of hearing this one.
Well, here's why.
Yeah.
Because this headline came out this week. Roblox could be the latest company to follow Elon Musk out of Delaware. Well, let's do a short list of who has announced, like, the big babies who have announced they want to leave Delaware. It's Musk at Tesla. It's Zuck at Meta. It's Dave Baszucki at Roblox now. And it's Andrew Houston at Dropbox said that.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, just for a refresher.
They're unhappy.
They built their
totalitarian. They built their dictatorships at Delaware.
In Delaware.
Yeah.
They basically, these coddled dictator man babies, they broke every possible rule on the way to untold wealth for themselves. They gave themselves dual class shares. They handpicked their boards. There's no accountability, and they're fucking upset.
In the jurisdiction that governance experts for decades have long been shouting that is racing to the bottom. It has been racing to the bottom to capitulate. I'm not even going to say the word. To kiss the ass of CEO man baby.
Yeah, you had like a word stroke today.
I'm not feeling right today. Yeah,
but stop me when I get to the bullet point of the thing that that is bothering them most. The fact that they're tired of shareholder rights because their shareholders don't really have them, or maybe they think the system isn't working for them. Maybe that's their grievance. This system isn't working. They have all the money. Maybe they don't like the fact that they don't have enough money. Maybe it's like we need more. Like they're not rich enough.
Yeah, maybe they're angry that they don't have any guardrails. Maybe they need guardrails.
Maybe the rules have been just too stringent and it's restricted them from making empires. Like it's just too restrictive here in Delaware where we have no one watching us and we can do whatever we want. What the fuck are you complaining about?
I don't know.
And why, investors, are you okay voting these companies to go somewhere else? What is the upside for you?
I don't
understand the vote at Tesla where they let them go. What's the upside?
Yeah, you're talking to a guy who doesn't even understand how the market even allows dual class shares, where some shares have more voting power than the other. I don't even understand that.
And here's the fun part. Yeah. Here's another headline that you pulled from this week, because the manflakes are just doing too much work. Burned out executives can cost companies more than $20,000 and cause social contagion effect. There are articles about how these executives are burnt out.
Oh. Well, maybe another reason why I should say his name, Kenneth DeGiorgio, CEO of First American Financial. Maybe another reason why he was choking barefoot dancers.
All right,
maybe he's stressed, Matt. Maybe he's stressed.
Yeah, he needs a nap. You got spineless ESGers, fake legitimacy, and coddled billionaires. Those
coddled
are
billionaires. Yes, but I can't. I mean, that's basically every week now,
Yeah.
and you should be pointing this out every week. But I can't do that one. Fake legitimacy. Again, it seems more like a evergreen at this point, right? Because there's so much fake legitimacy, and of course, I immediately thought of the corporate directors, because I can't for the life of me understand why nobody pays attention to the work that they're doing. In fact, we have a story. We'll get to late on another show in the future. We were supposed to cover a story that actually talked about the things that directors themselves are most preoccupied with, and one of them is not.
That's right.
One of them is not self-evaluation. One of them is not looking at their own performance. Right. But the one that gets me the most, the one that triggered me the most, this is how I used to do these votes, is the ones that triggered me the most back in the days of Emma lurking.
No, way back,
Yeah. Is the spineless ESGer. Sorry, Andy Bahar.
It isn't as you sow, but there's a systemic problem of the ESG crowd like backing off.
It's not just the ESG
going
crowd.
Quiet.
I've noticed a lot of our colleagues from, I'll say from the left, I guess, or just people who didn't support the Trump administration, a lot of them have gone eerily quiet. And it is disturbing.
Wake up, people. Do something.
Keep talking. Keep
talking.
Or at least, or keep the R&D going.
Send us. You know what?
Even if you don't want to do a thing as you sow, send out 10 ideas of like what can we do next year for proxy bios. What do you think we could like? Let's keep talking about strategy here.
Why don't you just if you're afraid to do it in public, just send us. We won't out you. Just send it to us. We'll have a conversation. We'll give you some data.
We might out you. I might.
I won't tell Damien.
Matt
and
won't. And nobody cares what I have to say, so it's fine.
All right, let's do headlines.
Matt, can I just say that, like,
no.
You're cutting me off. It's fine. Can I just say, this is one of the things that we talked about in the past of we're kind of upset with our own industry, the ESG industry, if that's the industry we're actually in, is that there are a lot of people there who, they hold their tongues too often. They're afraid of saying the wrong thing. They're afraid of sounding stupid. I don't know, they have a...
It's fraud. It's imposter syndrome.
They have imposter syndrome. But stop all that, because in 2025, what we need more than ever is to brainstorm together. If you actually do believe in these fights, if you actually are pro DEI, pro ESG, pro stakeholder, pro shareholder, whatever, you actually need to be just thinking out loud, because that's how you start movements. You can't wait until you have the perfect idea and then say it pithily on LinkedIn. That's not how it works. It's not how it works, because I'm getting a little tired of those LinkedIn type posters, and you know who you are if you're doing it. Don't wait until you think you're brilliant before you post something. It's done. It's done.
All right, let's do headlines. Winners.
I didn't think I was going to do that.
Let's get out of this show.
You made me all ranty today.
I know. And then Riverside died on you. It's like a trigger day.
Let me go first, then I'll shut up. My headline of the week is a funny one to me. Elon Musk's estranged daughter labels Tesla a Ponzi scheme. This is something you talk about all the time, Matt.
Yeah.
Citing, in fact, she's saying the same thing you said, citing stock's high PE ratio.
Yeah.
And then she gets called out for no evidence. And this made me think of you, Matt, because here's the evidence. Tesla's price to earnings ratio is approximately 131 to 1. It's a ratio, right?
1, yeah.
And as an example, at GM and Ford, it's about 6 to 1. So there's the evidence.
This is the funny part.
Yeah.
Like, we said this on this show 2 years ago. We talked about if Tesla didn't trade as a meme stock, if it traded like a regular car company with a tech bonus, it would trade at like a 40, right? Which is still 6-7x your GM and Ford. It's like 4 or 5x its rivals, and it should have wiped more than half the value off of Tesla. That's how much the meme premium that we talked about it here. That's what it was. And you know where I heard it other than Elon Musk's daughter?
Yeah.
I heard it on the Pivot podcast now. I've heard it everywhere. People are talking about like it's been a meme stock and their PE ratio suggests it and all this stuff. And it's like all they had to do was listen to us. They would have figured out it was a Ponzi
But they wouldn't.
scheme
But according to this headline, they say you have no evidence anyway. Even though
I know I've no
numbers right in front of them. Yeah,
I've got 2, but we already mentioned one. The first one is Trump's tariffs show signs of being written by AI, which is hysterical on its face.
Maybe not. I feel more disturbed by that. Yeah.
And then this one I don't know why it made me laugh. It made me think of, Jesse and Money Whisperer, but it also just made me laugh out loud because there's something funny about the phrasing. There are microplastics in your chicken nuggets.
Oh, well, I don't eat chicken nuggets, so I don't care.
It's just something about like as if we know what's in our chicken nuggets, right? Like,
can I just say that Yeah, can I just say that? Can I go jump back quickly into the AI writing Trump's tariffs? Because I love this quote from the editor at the Journal of Public Economics said, and this is what I was referencing before, but this says it more succinctly because I have diarrhea of the mouth and I don't know how to talk. I don't think I've known how to talk since I was like 5 years old. I think I peaked at 5. But the editor says exactly what the dumbest kid in the class would do without edits. Yeah. That's my problem with the use of AI going forward, right? I actually think that there are a lot of use cases and benefits to using AI, but Matt, this generation, they're not going to edit it. They're just going to take it all as gospel. That's what frightens me the most. All right.
So who's your winner? Who's your winner?
Anything to do with chicken nuggets is my winner.
Yeah, that's a good winner actually. Then who won the week for you?
Oh, who won the week? Right. Just this headline: Elon Musk bet big on the Wisconsin Supreme Court election. He lost. So I'm going to go with Wisconsin voters. Wisconsin voters. Thank you.
My winner was exploding rockets.
How so? How so?
I saw this headline: NASA signs contract for Elon Musk's Starship, even though it's never launched without exploding.
Unbelievable. Well, you were talking about fake legitimacy, right?
There it is, baby.
Just because you own a company that launches things doesn't mean you're necessarily good at it.
Yep. I like signing a contract for something that's, you know what, you want to sign a contract for something that's never been proven. Come to Free Flow Analytics. Like, we have so much data that nobody hasn't been proven because the market refuses to think about people. But our data is good. It doesn't explode. You can actually use it.
In fact, just today it proved why the CEO Kenneth DeGiorgio was choking a guy.
It's choking people. Yeah, maybe we need to add a choke predictor.
Yeah. Let's get to predictions. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's do it. Go ahead.
I'll let you go second because yours is fun and mine's dumb. And yet another move that Trump supporters are too dopey to comprehend. Trump lets Jeff Bezos buy TikTok.
I hate that. I don't like your prediction at all. It makes me unhappy.
But isn't that definitely coming? I mean, of course.
It's probably already happened.
We talked about for a while how Jeff Bezos does this incredible 180. You can't. Melania Trump is doing a $40 million contract with Amazon Prime. He's putting out The Apprentice. He's not letting Washington Post editors say anything negative. He wouldn't even endorse. He wouldn't even let the editors endorse. And now, of course, he's going to buy TikTok.
He's got to own TikTok so everyone can hear his asinine opinion.
So investors, once again, vote against everyone at Amazon. Just come on, give us a bit.
Here's my prediction. Jake Paul, the online influencer.
Jake Paul,
the online horrible boxer.
Man-flake, bro, middle school kind of guy.
They're like that peak manosphere.
Incel kind of dude.
He is invited to join the National Legal and Policy Center as an advisor on future shareholder proposals that might discriminate against his new reality show he's doing with his brother called Paul American. That's my prediction.
I kind of read that as being real.
That's real. That's the saddest kind of prediction. The kind that actually could happen.
Is manosphere? Did you make that up? Is that
no,
real
no,
thing?
that's a long.
I like that. Manosphere. That's
it's the manosphere.
No, actually,
that's all we got. That's Hazelnut Rawlis. I am your analyst hole, Matt Moscardi. We are Free Float. Come back next week. It's going to be all Damien for a couple weeks.
Oh, that's not good.
Damien time. But I'll be back in a couple weeks. Until then, good. Yeah, what happened? Seriously, did you have a stroke or something?
I don't know. My coffee sort of coincided with other fatigue, and I'm like overexcited, but don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was funny because suddenly every third word you were like, bah.
Yeah. Sometimes I get ahead of myself. We cover so much content that sometimes I'm looking like 3 stories ahead. I'm looking